Hi, Hard Times Guy here. I'm making a video today, this little video, to use in part with another video in the series of videos I'm making that I put in a watch list called Sunday Morning, number 1 through however many there end up being. And some of the things that I've already said in releasing those videos, I felt this story had a great deal of bearing. It could be used. In Luke chapter 15, Jesus is teaching, and he uses 3 different parables. And a parable is a story that's told to illustrate some like situation and to give you something to think about and compare it to your situation. So Jesus does that 3 different times in Luke chapter 15, and the third time he does it is this parable called the prodigal son. And that's the one I want to talk about today. Prodigal in and of itself means wasteful or extravagant. When I think about it, I think about somebody who maybe was inexperienced with having wealth, and they bought a lottery ticket and won a big lottery prize. Often you see those people, just that money just goes through their fingers over a short period of time, and it's not too long after what should have set them up for at least being comfortable most of their life is all gone, and they can't figure out what happened to it. They were prodigal. Another example of that is young athletes who, before they have actually reached maturity, they get an amount of money that's totally foreign to them, and they begin to live like it's going to go on forever. And of course, in an athlete's life, that doesn't happen. Their career might be 1 year, or 3 years, or 15 years, but with those short career people that just go out and spend all that money they get right in the beginning, they very often end up destitute and broke. It's a sad story. Prodigals. And then the other definition of the word that stems from this story that Jesus told, where this young man seemingly recognized his error, had a change of heart, and returned home. I probably should take and just read the thing to start with, but that tends to, bore my readers, and they just turn it off and go look for another video. It's not so boring, so I'm not going to do that. I'm familiar with the story, so I'm going to tell it to you. This is a story about a rich father, and in Jesus' use of it, the father, I think, represents the Heavenly Father. But that's the reason that he's telling the story. The prodigal might be us, and the father in the story is our Heavenly Father and his attitude toward us. But this story has a father, and the father has 2 sons, and the father's wealthy. And these boys have grown up being wealthy, and they've never wanted for anything. And the oldest boy, he's pretty practical and loyal to his father and works hard on the ranch or the farm or the business, whatever it is, and does things the way the father wants him to. The young boy, he's antsy. He doesn't want to go the slow, boring way. He'd like to have his money now to do with what he wants to. He can do about anything he wants anyway. But he wants to leave there. He wants to go somewhere where it's more exciting. He wants to go have fun. What good is it to be rich if you can't have fun and go places and do things when you're young? That's his attitude. I'm telling you this story because I got some grandkids that got that same attitude. The only problem with them is there ain't anybody rich to give them the money. But a lot of young people have that attitude today. They want everything that the older people in their family have and have worked diligently for their entire lives and accumulated and managed and invested and sometimes sacrificed in order to have, and they get into their later years and they're able to live and do and have what they want. And these young people, they want it too, only they don't want to put the sacrifice and the work and the time and the discipline, and they don't want to do that. They want it right now. You may know somebody like that. That's the way this boy was. And his father decided that he wasn't going to be able to change the boy's mind. The boy, he had discussions with him, but the boy wasn't listening to him. And it was causing a division between them, and there was resentment. So he divided up the wealth, and he gave the boy his inheritance. He said, "Here, son, here's what you wanted, you got it." And the boy went off, and we're told he went to another place, another country, and another faraway civilization, and he partied. He had a good time. He spent money. He had friends. And when you got that kind of money and you're footing the bill, you'll have a lot of friends. And they all come around, and they did whatever it was they did. Riotous living, the Bible calls it. Later on, his brother calls it, he wasted all his money on harlots. But the boy had, he partied hard. And boy, it was good for a while. But that's not how life is. It's not how it works. If that's what you do, you're going to end up like this boy. And what happened to him was he spent all his money. Guess what happened to his friends after he spent all his money? They went and found somebody else with money to spend. He didn't have no friends. He found himself by himself. And he found himself needing to do something just to survive. And he found a man who owned a herd of swine, pigs. And he hired this boy to take care of them, feed them, look after them, and feed them every day. And the boy was feeding swine one day, and he was poor, and he was down, and he was not liking it. And he started to think about it. In fact, he was watching these pigs eat slop, and he was seeing stuff in that slop that looked pretty good to him. And he was competing with pigs to get the good parts of that slop to eat himself. He contended with the swine for the husks, the King James says. And after a little bit of that, he began to think a little more. And he thought, man, what have I done? What was I thinking? Why didn't I listen to Dad? He loved me. Wow, his Dad's servants got it way better than I do now. I think I'll go home. Tell him I'm sorry. Beg him to give me a job as one of his servants. My life will be way better than it is now. I want to stop the story right there, and I may just stop it right there and spend the rest of the time talking about the point that you can make right there. The boy begins to think differently. Remember what I said about you don't have to be stupid. You can quit being stupid by changing the way you think. And this boy started to think a whole lot differently than he used to. But it took something like this to get him to stop and think. He wouldn't listen to his dad before. He had what he wanted to do on his mind. He was selfish and impatient and bored and looking for action and adventure. And man, he got it. And he was fine with it while it lasted. But then he got to a place where he had to stop and think about where he was and how he got there. And to his credit, he formulated a pretty good plan. In fact, if it had went, the rest of the story had went where he went back home, his dad gave him a job as a servant, and he spent the rest of his life working for his dad for wages, or for however they rewarded their servants. He spent the rest of his life like that. It would have been way better than the life he had created for himself. But the people that he was listening to before that wanted to go party, wanted him to spend money on buying the alcohol or the women or the drugs or whatever it was they were doing that they thought was so fun and so necessary and so important to a young man's life. The advice they were giving him, they aren't giving him that advice now because he ain't got the means to keep their habits up either, and they're gone somewhere else. He's by himself with the pigs. And my question is this, young people, young person, or not so young person, that got yourself in a position where you're competing with the pigs for your dinner. Why did it take that before you came to your senses? Before you woke up? I'm going to call this Dinner with the Pigs. This is a dinner with the pigs moment. And you're going to hear that. Maybe in this video, but for sure in future videos, we're going to talk about the dinner with the pigs moment. Where you finally realized that you'd been stupid. And that you needed to think differently. You needed to do differently. And I'm going to talk about this boy and how he got focused and how he made a better decision and how he got up and went home. The rest of the story is when he got home, his dad he saw him coming from afar off. He was longing for him to come home. He prayed that he would come home. He prayed that this boy would realize the error of his ways and come back home. And when the boy come back home, he was tickled to death because he loved his son. He tried to tell him the right thing a long time ago. The boy wouldn't listen to him. And he did the only thing he could do. He let the boy go learn it for himself. And he took that boy back because he loved him. Unconditional love's what that is. Now his brother loved him too, but he didn't like him coming back like that. He was jealous. He said, man, I didn't go off and do stupid stuff like that. You never did kill a calf for me and have a party. But his dad said, son, this boy was lost to us. It was the same as if he was dead. You got to understand. I love him, and you love him, and you should love him just like I do. He was lost, and now we got him back. Something to celebrate. The story doesn't go on beyond that. Let's end the story because that's the point Jesus wanted to make. But it's going to go on in these Sunday morning videos that I make because I'm going to bring it to your attention. I'm going to remind you of it often. And probably I'm even going to talk about some dining with the pigs moments that you've had. And I'm going to talk about how you did to your credit, come to your senses. Think differently and do things differently. And got your life going in the right direction. But then, I don't know what happens to us. I guess we get comfortable again and start thinking about the other things that we are wanting to do and are too impatient to do it the right way. It's taking too long. I'm working too hard. It's not enough fun for me. I'm bored again. And you start doing stupid things again. After you've had a dining with the pigs experience in your life. You've been there with them pigs. And then you go back. Why do you do that? You're going to see this. We're going to use this lesson over and over in the Sunday morning lessons. We're going to use this parable, this example, because it's the best one I can think of to illustrate what I'm trying to get across to you. People I love, people I care about, people I want to have happiness for the rest of your life. Can't think of a better illustration than this one. I'm a hard times guy. Till the next time, have a good day.